Welcome back to the channel. My name's Ryan. Today we're going to be going over 5 financial moves to make before you turn 30. I've had a lot of people, again, reach out to me on this topic, either from conversations, in person, LinkedIn, Twitter, and I thought it'd be great to just walk through some of the things that everyone could and should be doing before they turn 30. Now, these are not difficult financial strategies to implement. These are things that you can either automate, you can set it and forget it. It's a one-time thing, etc. Now, what I do love about this is these are things that anyone outside of finance can take hold of. So a lot of people think that finance or looking at your finances is only for those that are in banking or on Wall Street, etc. That couldn't be further from the truth. So let's get into it. If this is you and you feel like you're constantly screaming, you're constantly worried, you have no idea where your next, house payment, mortgage payment, car payment is going to be coming from, you definitely don't want to be thinking about that into your 50s, 60s, and 70s. Now, me personally, I had the benefit of learning a lot of this in my early teens, in my 20s. Some of this I've implemented, and I'll be honest, some of the things that I need to do better with. So we all can definitely do better. But if you want to avoid this situation, stay tuned. So the first thing I want everyone to understand is the dollar cost averaging and time decay. And what this means is if you look at this chart, you'll see here, you've got three different people. You've got Joey, Jill, and Jack. And what I want you to understand is they all put in the same amount of money every month, and they're buying we're doing typical S&P Index 500 funds. It could be anything that mirrors a index. So it could be the Dow, it could be the S&P 500, it could be the NASDAQ, whatever that may be. And you're literally putting money in every month, every quarter, every year. One of the things that's very interesting is Jack starts at 25, Jill starts at 35, Joey starts at 45. Each one contributes the same amount. However, by the time they turn 65, Jack has 96,000, Jill has 72,000, Joey has 48,000. Those extra 10 and 20 years could have either doubled or potentially, if you have something on an outside gains perspective, doubled, tripled, quadrupled money for each of these investors. So one of the biggest things everyone needs to understand is automate as much as you can, whether that's your 401k, whether that's your Roth, whether that's your IRA, whether that's an individual taxable account. Automate as much as you can as soon as you can. There's nothing wrong with starting to invest at 40 or 50, but you can see here just with a 7 to 8% return on the market, which is typical of what we've seen over the last 100 years, outside of what's currently going on in the current recession we're in. You'll see outsized returns are fairly normal, but the earlier you start, the better. And that's true with anything. The earlier you start reading, writing, doing math, understanding how the markets work, the better you are. Number 2, find mentors that you trust and can emulate. Work with them, work for free, do whatever you need to do, add value, even if you have to start at the bottom. These are 2 famous investors. Obviously, everyone knows who Warren Buffett is. And he says, I made my first investment at age 11. I was wasting my life up until then. I think that's probably true. Obviously, most people aren't investing at the age of 5 or 6, but I don't see anything wrong with that statement by saying, I was really wasting my life until I started investing, right? And starting to make your money work for you instead of putting it in a savings account or a checking account. This other guy over here on the right, his name is Seth Klarman, and he runs a fund called the Baupost Group. They're out of Boston. Seth Klarman's he's a big reader. He's a big follower of Warren Buffett and Ben Graham. Ben Graham, for those of you who don't know, was actually a teacher of Warren Buffett. Did a great job, and his words and wisdom today are still being taught. Earlier in my life, I've definitely spent a lot of time with those that I could learn from. It doesn't necessarily mean it was an internship. It doesn't necessarily mean I was being paid. It was more continually asking questions. Ask the why. Until you get to the why of something, until you understand what you're doing and why you're doing it, you need to keep asking questions. So when I look at this chart here, or when I look at this slide here, we've went through the first 2. The third one, set up a brokerage account that you can paper trade in, such as Fidelity, TD Ameritrade, or Schwab. All these brokerages give you the ability to do what's called paper trading, and that is the ability to trade as if the money was real. It's not, but it lets you buy stocks, options, other derivatives of the market, and see what you would do and see what that would look like over a in period of time. So why is this useful? So if you're just starting out and you don't know, you don't know what you don't know, stocks, bonds, options, those can all seem very cumbersome, very complicated. And to be honest, they can be when you first step into it. One of the things that I did as a child was I opened up one of these accounts. I think my first one was with Fidelity, and I paper traded. And I did that to understand the market. I did that to understand, what good moves there were to make, when to buy a stock, when to sell a stock, when to hold on to it. For those of you that have watched my channel for any amount of time, you know that I'm a long-term investor. I buy when things are cheap, and I typically never sell. If I was going to sell, I'm going to make sure from a tax perspective that I'm not doing a short sale, and that my tax burden is accumulated for. The next one, don't buy the latest meme stock and hope to get rich. Hope isn't a strategy. I can't tell you how many times, especially in the last 2 or 3 years with either cryptocurrency or NFTs or even the meme stocks like Bed Bath & Beyond and AMC. It's really, I'm going to tell you, there's really only a very small percentage of people that can do that and be successful with it. And a lot of it is just honestly plain luck. So anyone comes to you and says, I've got the next great stock and buy this and it's going to double, it's going to triple, I'd be very leery about that. The old saying, when something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. When it comes to your money, you definitely want to take this to heart. If you look back at some of the greatest investors of our time, the Warren Buffetts, the Seth Klarmans, the Ben Grahams, the David Rubensteins, they're not going to be buying the latest hot stock. Seth Klarman's famous for saying, he doesn't even have a Bloomberg terminal on his desk. He doesn't look at the market every day. He's a long-term holder of whether it's private equity, venture capital, illiquid assets, real estate, whatever. They're not looking every day at what the market's doing. They're not buying. They're not selling on a daily, weekly, or even monthly basis. And the last one's pretty self-explanatory, but it should probably be said. Avoid when the market is down and buying when the market is up. So many people, especially over the last 12 to 18 months, the market ran up slightly after COVID, but right in the beginning of COVID, for those of you that are paying attention, the market crashed. I mean, we had a 15-20% correction, and the smart money, the big money, was buying as much as they could during that dip. It was in March of 2020, if you want to go back and look at it. And then from there on, the market continued to go up. Why? The Fed was pumping money into it. There was free money sloshing around out there. Everything was very frothy, and money needed to land somewhere. Well, as money piled up and the Fed continued to pump liquidity in, things started to turn the other way. Inflation started to heat up. Interest rates are rising, and what do we see now? This summer we had a massive sell-off. 401ks are down about 25%. The S&P is down almost 30% from its highs. It sucks, right? I'm not saying it doesn't, but if you sell now, you're with everybody else. And Warren Buffett's very famous for saying, when there's blood in the streets, now's the time to buy. Me personally, I dollar cost average. I buy every 2 weeks. I set it and forget it, and I don't look. Yeah, I've picked up a few stocks here and there over the last 3 months that I feel were really undervalued and have a lot of long-term potential in them. Mostly blue chip stocks, but a few that are more speculative in nature. And then obviously, when the market is at the very top, probably not a good time to buy. What do I mean by the top? So the top in this case would have been January 21, right when the new administration came into office in the White House. January 21 was about the top. If you bought then and you still are holding now, you're definitely underwater. Could be 30, could be 60, could be 80%. So in this case, the best thing you can do is simply hold on. Hold on. If you have to sell, take some losses, learn from it, but understand that trying to time the market, it's just not possible. And the last thing I want to leave everyone here with is successful investing is about managing risk, not avoiding it. So we just talked about the risk of buying high and selling low. Ben Graham, he's got so many great quotes, but this is the one that I love the most. It's understanding that risk is a part of life. Risk is a part of investing. You can't maneuver your way out of it. There's nothing you can do about it. You have to simply try to manage it and not avoid it. So with that, I want to thank everyone for paying attention, tuning in. I'm going to have a couple more of these around the do's and don'ts. I think I'm going to do one around the things to do before 40, before 50. And definitely I'm going to put out a few videos around what not to do as well. So, 2 do's, not to do. But please drop a comment in the comment section below. I'm going to link this presentation as well. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.